Good morning. Welcome to Coffee with Chris Brindley, which is part of our Inspirational Speakers series of short 10-minute coffee chats with a selection of inspirators. I'm Martin Corker, Director of Inspirational Speakers. But today is about talking to Chris and hearing from him and getting his take on the world that we're living in. So Chris, let's start off with what's your backstory that has characterised your reputation as an industry leader?
Humble beginnings, Martin. Father walked out on me, my brother and my mother when I was 3 months old, lived in a council flat. It was pretty tough. Wasn't particularly academic at school, but I learned from my mum the importance of hard work. Started in a bank printing checkbooks in 1982, and due to the work ethic and the lifelong learning that had instilled in me and my love of sport, I became the managing director. And the part sport played in that was I got my FA coaching badges. And when I got into the workplace, realised that there was lots of people barking orders and shouting and criticising. There was no coaching going on. So I started to use my coaching principles and learnings in terms of communication, team building, genuine coaching to make people better who they are, and became the MD in NatWest, and then moved on to British Gas, then moved on to Metrobank. But the love of sports never left me, Martin. And at the age of 50, I left full-time corporate world and started to work in sport. And I've been senior head of the Manchester FA, Rugby League World Cup, which I know we'll talk about later, the Rugby Football League, and worked with great athletes like Becky Adlington, Beth Sweddle and Steve Parry in their business world. So that's my back catalogue.
What do you believe are the vital components to business success in the world that we're living in today?
I think particularly today, Martin, but even when we get out of this, it's about relevance. I think as a person, you have to be relevant. I think as a product, you have to be relevant. And as a company, you have to be relevant. And once you've worked out the relevance, I think how you then run the business is important. And I tend to look at the balanced business scorecard, making sure that you don't just look after your finances. A lot of people focus on that, but ultimately it's your people and your customers and your processes that if you get those right, then people do business with you and the finances tend to look after themselves. And then one thing that I'd encourage everybody to do is think about looking into the future, because I've been talking about something called the three revolutions since 1996, since I first saw it from a guy called Jack Black. And basically the three revolutions are technology. Technology will continue to govern our lives. Secondly is consumer behaviour will change consistently, online, offline. And then the last one is the world order. And we've just seen the world order change with COVID and changes in US presidents, and therefore things will be different. So anticipating the future, I think, is really important, as well as just running your business today.
You talk about a balanced scorecard, and it's something that over the course of the last year with COVID, we've all had to think about and probably reassess. So how have you tried to make COVID a positive journey in terms of a personal experience?
Yeah, I think for me, Martin, I took a great lesson from sport, and the lesson from sport is this: it's control the controllables. I always remember a great high jumper, Steve Smith, having a lesson from Frank Nick, which sort of instilled in him control the controllables. He couldn't control the wind, but he could control his approach and his attitude and his actions, and that's what I've done. I went on LinkedIn almost the first day of lockdown and said three things. I'm going to have to be patient because it's an invisible enemy and nobody's dealt with this before. Secondly, I'll maintain my high levels of self-belief. COVID hasn't made me bad overnight, and it hasn't made anybody bad overnight, but the circumstances might change. And then the last one was I promised myself I'd do new stuff. So I'm better, I'm healthier, I'm better read. I've done things like this and podcasts. I've done more writing and more posting. And ultimately, I've taken the positives out of the time available to be better at who I am and what I do, because I couldn't control the COVID-19 virus. So I've tried to look at what I can do, not what I can't do.
And would you say that that's about system and routine, or about self-discipline and if you like, awareness of what's around you.
Yeah, I'd encourage everybody not to think COVID is the one thing that can define things. Look, businesses were going out of business before COVID, and just because businesses have gone out of business during COVID, it doesn't mean it's COVID's fault. It might have accelerated it, Martin. So, look, before COVID, I had a positive mindset. I had good routine, good structure, good discipline, and as I say to lots of people, you know, I don't watch shit TV. I didn't watch it pre-COVID. I've not watched it during COVID. There might be more time on my hands, but I've listened to some really good podcasts. I've listened to some good people on audiobooks. Therefore, I've chosen to use the time available to make me better rather than actually use it as an excuse to be any worse or any different. I've just wanted to be better, so that's what I focused on. Mindset, structure, routine.
Viewers who haven't realised, you'll see on Chris's screen the logo for the 2021 Rugby League World Cup, which Chris is proudly, very proudly chair of. Chris, from your point of view, what can we look forward to this year from the Rugby League World Cup, not just in terms of the sport on the field, but the broader engagement with the community and its contribution towards a national sort of goodwill factor?
Yeah, I think what people will experience is the greatest sports tournament this country's ever seen. And I'll say that with absolute confidence, Martin. We're the first ever global tournament trying to run a men's, women's, wheelchair and physical disability 4 World Cups over a 6 weeks period. And the wheelchair, for example, people associate it with disability. It's not a disability sport, it's a wheelchair sport. If you're able-bodied and can move a wheelchair, you can play in the Rugby League World Cup wheelchair tournament. And we've got all sorts of people in that team. We've got people that have got disability, people who haven't. We've got men, we've got women. It's a truly inclusive sport. And we've set our sights out to make it a very inclusive sport. It's one of our values. And people will see just amazing on-field. They will see amazing cultural experiences. So the Pacific Islanders pray together before the game, basically go at each other for 80 minutes, and it's fierce, and then come together at the end of the game and pray. We've got teams from Jamaica, Papua New Guinea, Cook Islands, Brazil, Norway, as well as the home countries. And on off-field, we've partnered with Movember, and we've got our own mental health charter, which we're working with Movember with. We've partnered with UNICEF. And actually our legacy programme, Martin, will be completed before the first ball is kicked. And that's really unusual in sport. Often people look to the legacy after. Our Created By programme will see facilities built and up and running, and lots of kits and balls and new teams created before the tournament starts. So it's going to be really special. Ticket sales are beyond expectations. We're playing in some great cities. We're going to have a great semi-final at the Emirates. It'll be the first non-football game at the Emirates, although a few Arsenal fans have told me there's been some games where there wasn't much football played. We're going to play at the European City of Culture, which is Coventry next year. And the final's going to be a double-header, men and women at Old Trafford, preceded the night before with the wheelchair, preceded the week before with the physical disability Rugby League World Cup at Warrington. So it's going to be something special, and I'm hugely privileged and proud to be part of the team that's going to deliver that.
Thank you for that. Anybody who doesn't know you will clearly see your passion and this beautiful cocktail that you have between business instinct, business experience, and the passion that comes through your sporting engagement really shining through. I wish you luck with the Rugby League World Cup this year. I believe that it's in good hands. So finally, for our viewers, what would you say, if you had one silver bullet of advice, what would it be?
Martin, you know I could talk for the rest of the world on this one. Firstly, dreams are free. Doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter where you are in life, never stop dreaming. Secondly, it's about hard work and continuous learning. And if I could leave people watching this with 3 books I'd recommend, Good to Great by Jim Collins. That's got some great stuff in it. Secondly is Legacy by James Kerr. And thirdly is Rise by Royston Guest. And in those 3 books, it'll talk about what you need to be a great person and build personal resilience, what it is to be part of a great culture and a great team, and what it is in terms of lifelong learning. So that would be my silver bullet, which is learning. And those are the books I'd recommend, plus a few more, but we've not got time.
Chris, that's great. We're a coffee chat, and I've thrown the coffee. I want to reassure anybody watching that we're not long lost brothers, first of all. To thank you for your time today, and thirdly to say if you'd like to see or hear more from Chris Brindley, you can catch him either on the Inspirational Speakers website. You could probably catch him via the Rugby League World Cup, or just search Chris Brindley in Google and he will come up. I recommend you to contact him, talk to him further. Chris, as always, a delight. Thank you.
Cheers, Martin. Thanks very much. All the best. Have a great year.